Welcome to Season 2 of the Craft Beer Connoisseurs Podcast. I'm Brett. If you're new to the podcast, we are three friends and a producer who like to showcase craft breweries and their beers. Also, we like to end every episode with a short conversation on a variety of different topics. If you're not new to the podcast, well, welcome back. We will keep things similar to Season 1. After all, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. Whether you're new or returning, please feel free to listen to all of our Season 1 content. And remember to follow us on Instagram at Craft Beer Cons, send a friend request on Untapped, or subscribe on YouTube at Craft Beer Connoisseurs. Also, drop a comment, like, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Now, for today's episode. Welcome to Craft Beer Connoisseurs. I'm Brett.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Tyler. And along with us today is Producer Rory.
Well, hello, Rory.
Hi, Rory.
Fresh off the U.S. Open.
I think so. Canadian Open, actually.
Yeah. So in today's episode, we're going to be reviewing Something in the Water Brewing out of Toronto, Ontario.
What could be in the water?
We're having beers today?
Yes, that could be what's in the water.
It could be.
Oh, nice. I think we're actually going to have two beers.
Yeah.
So the first is a locally grown pilsner called Garrison Creek, and the second is called Pancake Bay Sweet Brunch Stout, which gained second place in the 2021 World Beer Awards. So I'm looking forward to that one.
That's going to be good, hopefully, yeah.
Absolutely.
So to finish up the episode, we're going to be talking about some fun facts that correlate both with beer and with water. So stay tuned for that.
And we are back. So, Something in the Water is located at 151 East Liberty Street in the Liberty Village portion of Toronto, just behind the Brazen Head Irish Pub. Yes, right? Something in the Water began their journey in March of 2020. Interesting timing, some of them would say.
Yeah, some might.
Yeah, right? So they actually started within the contract brewing process of creating the Lee River Blackberry Vanilla Sour, which I'm pretty sure most of us have had. I'm pretty sure the listeners can guess which one who hasn't. With help.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Shots fired.
With help from Syndicate Brewing in Niagara Falls. And that one actually uses real blackberry and Madagascar bourbon vanilla pods. Which also something I found unique was pods.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Sounds delicious.
It's a good beer.
It's a very good beer.
It is a good beer. Yeah.
So the brewery itself was founded by Steve Waugh, a former advertising executive who discovered a passion for brewing through home brewing and his Prud'homme certification, which you may hear more of in the future.
Wink, wink.
Yeah, hint, hint. And Rick Tanton, who is the recipe creator and brewer.
Oh, one day I want to be a recipe creator.
Yeah.
Like, what a title.
Just the creator, not the brewer.
Just the creator.
Yeah.
Get in, get out. So, after more than 2 years in terms of discussions with them, we kind of had some back and forth. They were actually one of the first breweries that contacted us when we were starting up the podcast.
Yeah.
So, I guess this has been a long time coming.
It has.
Yeah, I would say so.
What, like a year, almost
Just
2 years?
Yeah. As I said.
The beers have finally floated upstream.
That's just it, right? Had to come all the way down 3 or 4 different streams to get here, but we got it. So, yeah, we mutually agreed that once the physical location was up in place and open, Steve and Rick could then decide which beers they wanted us to review. And maybe it was kind of beneficial that we waited because one of the beers we're having, they're pretty proud of.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
So we'll get to that when we do have it. But
well, and also when we started the podcast in September of 2020. Seems like so long ago. They
probably for them too.
Yeah, they only had the one beer, which was the Lee River, right?
Yes.
So, based on the format of our podcast, as we know, we usually review 2 beers. Doing one wouldn't be, sufficient. And at that point, we didn't have producer specials either.
Right.
Absolutely.
But I would have reviewed that beer twice.
I would have also reviewed that twice.
Just do it 2 times.
It is a really good beer. And
Yes.
a buddy of ours too, that's
Swears
one
by
of his
them.
favorite beers.
Yeah, swears by them.
Yeah, like literally one of his favorites. And I've enjoyed that one, and hopefully we'll enjoy these as well. So
I'm pretty sure listeners have definitely figured it out now who hasn't had it. Anyway,
I did bring some to an event, and I just think that might not have had it yet.
Yeah, fair enough.
Somebody might have missed out on it.
I'm gonna have some more information on that shortly.
Oh, sounds good.
There you go.
So why the name Something in the Water? So it's because the brewing industry uses a tremendous amount of it. And now
Yes,
with this, it can create something delicious, but the water needs to be kept clean for years and decades to come, which is why 5 cents from every can purchase is donated to support clean water across Canada.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes.
Because you're right, we do need water for more than just beer.
Absolutely. And Something in the Water also sponsors 10 beaches across Canada from coast to coast through Swim, Drink, Fish. And they are also a certified living wage employer in the Toronto area.
Nice. Good stuff.
Yeah, we've seen that a couple times with a couple different breweries.
Yes.
So it's nice to see the trend kind of continue through.
Yeah. Well, we mentioned that they started out as a contract brewery, and of course, coming with that, you don't have a physical location. So they currently do now have a physical bricks and mortar location. As you know, we mentioned what the location was. It opened on May 24th of this year, so it's only been open for about a month.
Yep.
And they've had great support from the community to the point where they've had to buy some guest kegs from other breweries because all of their beer has been drank by loyal customers. So obviously they continue to brew more of their own stuff, but they want people coming in, so they have some guest kegs.
Yes.
Right.
So they get some Third Moon, some Badlands, some Farm League.
Just get some different things in the different areas.
Absolutely.
So, speaking of some of the beers that they've had and some of that the loyal customers have drank completely out of, I suppose, in their lineup currently, we've got 2 which we're going to be having on the podcast, obviously.
Yeah.
There's the Lee River, which we previously mentioned. And then along with that, they've got the Rocky Point Lime Lager, the Peach Crisp Berliner Weiss, and then the Hazy Maitland IPA. So they have a little bit of everything, which
Yes.
they've dipped their toes into the water.
Maybe they're ass in the sand?
As sand, in which they do sponsor. So
On one of the beaches that they sponsor.
there you go.
Those are
However,
lovely.
they do actually have 8 beers on Untapped listed. So
Right.
there's 2 others that they have on Untapped. One called Something Light, which I believe is a light lager. And then the Big Waterway New England IPA.
Yes.
So I think those might be a couple that they're sold out of at the brewery.
I believe so. So if you couldn't tell, they've obviously named their beers after some of their favorite bodies of water.
Yeah.
I know, Chris, you're big on the whole bodies of water. I'm pretty sure Lake Superior is your favorite lake, right?
Erie.
Erie?
There's like 18 jokes that just popped in my head about Lake Erie for some reason. I don't know why.
It's the closest to my house, so it's my favorite.
Fair enough.
There you go.
So obviously, because it's been such a short turnaround with their bricks and mortar location just being open for about a month, none of us have been to the actual brewery yet. But some of us have had a couple of their beers. Myself having 2 of them. One being the Lee River, which I gave it a 4, and their Lime Lager, which I gave a 3.5. Tyler, what beer have you had?
Yeah, I had the Lee River and I gave it a 3.75. And the thing about it is you could have multiple of them, and the consistency of it is you're always going to be in the 3.75, if not higher. You know, it's one of those beers that felt like if I would have had 3 or 4 of them, it probably would have had a higher rating because it stayed very true and consistent to itself. So that was very pleasing.
And our producers also had this, and he is rated a 3.5. And Chris, have you had any Something in the Water beers?
Yeah, what do you got?
So I will say there is a discrepancy because on my Untapped, I have not untapped any beers from Something in the Water. However, I have drank the Lee River before because, Tyler, you brought them to your bachelor party, and I did have one.
However,
I did not untap it because I didn't have the proper glassware.
Oh my goodness, this guy!
Interesting. So
You know
because
what?
you had
Always
the
tries to find
plastic
you
cup
out.
from the hotel, or what?
Yeah, I just drank it out of the can. So I said I can't put a beer on Untapped when I'm just drinking out of the cans.
Fair enough. So out of the can, what did you give it then? If you can remember back then.
I honestly can't really remember. I think I will have to have another one and then
And then another one.
Yes.
And then another one.
and officially put it on my Untapped.
Okay. You know what?
All right.
We'll let it slide. We'll let it slide.
We'll allow it.
Now, what's interesting actually about their cans is that the Lee River is in a 473 milliliter can, and all the other ones are in 355 milliliter cans. So I don't know why they chose to go with that, but an interesting move.
It might have been who was canning it at the time too, right?
Yep,
Because we did mention that it was being contracted out. So.
Yes,
Yeah,
previously.
that's a good point.
And also, actually, I found the Lee River in Manitoba when I was out in Winnipeg a few weeks ago as well.
Oh,
I was
wow.
very surprised by that, to see it that far.
Yeah, they've got some good reach then.
Yes, absolutely. So something in the water also provides some lovely snacks to have at the brewery, including a couple that maybe you guys are going to have.
Yeah, it sounds almost. I mean, we could have went ahead and said you're at a brewery right now, but you're not.
No,
you're
I'm
sitting
not.
in the basement of your house with no lights on.
You're right.
But at
it's
least
something
not-
I did when I was 16 too. Don't worry.
Yeah, well, the difference is that you actually own this house this time.
It's true. I do. You're right.
But we'll be enjoying. Chris and I will be, and producer Rory will be
Yeah.
having what is that? We got the chili lime pretzels
Yeah.
from Natty Pretzel, along with. You want to talk about this one a little
Yeah,
bit?
the second thing we're having, which I believe Brett's wife would really love, so maybe we'll save her some, is the...
No, we won't.
No, you won't.
Probably not. Rory will eat it all. Is
Yeah.
the cookies and cream popcorn from Niagara Popcorn. So,
Nice. You know what this means?
Yeah.
It just means I have to get down to the brewery,
yes.
Yeah.
we do.
right? Then I'll have it from them. There.
We will as well.
And they also have, kind of also venturing away out of the beer category, a rum cask Canadian whiskey that's available, of course, at the brewery, but also in the LCBO. So
yes.
if you like your whiskey, try their whiskey.
Who doesn't, right?
Yeah,
Not me.
I'll get into some of that.
Anyway, in terms of delivery, within the Liberty Village area, it is free of charge. Within Ontario, free shipping on orders of $100 or more. So by all means, collaborate with your friends in order to get all that Something in the Water has to offer.
Yeah.
Now, the tap room and the bottle shop are open Tuesday, Wednesday, 12 to 11 p.m., Thursday to Saturday, 12 to 1 a.m., and Sunday, 12 to 9 p.m. So pretty late on the Tuesday and Wednesday, which is kind of not super familiar with a lot of different
And even
breweries, so it's
Thursday to
nice.
Saturday, like be able to go in there at midnight for a nice little wobbly pop. That'd be lovely.
Yeah.
Right.
A little wobbly pop and a little popcorn.
Yeah, exactly, right? Maybe some pretzels, too. Little midnight
sounds good.
snack.
There it is. Yeah, quite literally.
Well, if you want to do that, then we're going to link to their information on our social media so you can find out how.
All right. Well, shall we mix on to the first beer, boys?
Let's
do it.
Well, a big shout out and thank you to Steve and Rick. That's Something in the Water for, 2 years of correspondence, and also supplying the beers.
Yeah, putting up with us for 2 years.
and
For
More
real.
than anything.
Yes, and for supplying the beers for today's episode. The first beer.
And food.
Yes, and food.
And food.
And food, yes. Well, I guess you get...
For some of
Yes.
us, Rory's already getting into the
Oh,
pretzels.
God, he's probably already half through the...
You're not going to be able to take these away from Rory.
That sounds about right.
I'm going to.
It sounds like something that you guys will have to figure out.
Yeah.
We will.
All right. So the first beer is the Garrison Creek, a local Pilsner, 4.5 ABV, 37 IBUs.
Yeah, so this beer relies on 100% Ontario-grown ingredients with malt from Barn Owl and hops from Tavistock.
Hey, tough stuff.
So this beer is an unfiltered Czech Pilsner named after the most local body of water that they could think of, Garrison Creek. And that's most local to the brewery itself, of course, yes.
Yeah, not to us.
No, not to us.
So that being said, let's do a little history lesson because school's in session, but it's not because it's summertime. In 1838, so that was roughly when Chris was born, the brewers of Blends in the Czech Republic dumped gallons of bad beer onto the streets and announced they would combine delicious local ingredients to create something better, the Pilsner. You might have heard of it. I don't know if you guys have heard of Czech Pilsners before.
I have.
I have, yes.
Very good. Very good. So this will have flavors on the palate of banana, cereal, dried grass, and wildflowers that is sharply bitter, thirst quenching with a sweet of dryness.
Interesting. You don't usually get banana in Pilsner,
Correct.
so that's interesting.
Yeah.
So on Untapped, as always, you guys can follow us at Craft Beer Connoisseurs and on our Instagram at Craft Beer Cons. So the overall rating for this Garrison Creek is 3.64 bottle caps out of 5 with 45 ratings. We are having this out of the can, and out of the can, there's been 27 ratings with a 3.68. So basically the same as the overall, and no 5s yet.
Okay.
And we are having the pretzels out of a bag.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Make sure to use your proper snackware.
So I want to make a point of that.
I'm thirsty, boys. So Tyler, can you do your line, please?
All right. Well, I just cracked a pretzel in my mouth here because I want to make sure that I get a little bit of dryness, so then that way it's complemented with this Pilsner.
Absolutely.
So let's grab our can, and let's grab that glass, and let's open her up.
I'm glad.
I will say,
go ahead.
Before Chris gets to his point, that these pretzels are delicious. Strong on the lime flavor, but they're very good.
Yeah, very good. A little bit of heat too.
Oh, yeah.
So we are drinking this Pilsner out of a Pilsner glass today, so make sure to use your proper glassware.
I'm glad you let everybody know that you're not supposed to pour the beer into the pretzels.
No, that would be bad.
But I would dip the pretzels in the beer, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Chris, great pour on you. Watch that head.
Yep. There's actually quite a bit of head on
Yeah, there
this
actually
one.
is, yeah.
There is.
Yeah.
There's. So on the eyes, we got a nice frothy head as described. I'm sure this one's going to lace pretty good.
Yes, I think
feel
so,
like there's
too.
going to be really good lacing
Yes,
for it.
absolutely.
Yeah. It's nice and clear. Got good carbonation in this beer as well.
Definitely getting the grass wildflower off the nose there.
Mm-hmm.
Also the banana.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of banana. Almost like it's like a Pilsner Hefeweizen kind of.
It was kind of one of those things when I was going
almost.
through the tasting notes for this. I was like, banana, really? I was very surprised, but it's all here.
Now, I think something in the water doesn't have to do it because we saw in the Czech Republic they dump gallons of the bad beer out. So hopefully this isn't a bad bear and we don't have to dump it out. So maybe we should get tasting it and see what we get.
Agreed.
Let's do it.
All right. First comment I'm going to make is I do have some residual pretzel, and so the reason why I'm going to make that comment is for anybody that is trying to get a good flavor profile of the beer itself. This goes back to what we always say is don't judge a beer off the first taste. So I'm going to settle down on the pretzels because I've given them back to Rory and I might never see them again.
Yeah,
That's true.
Rory's fiending for them.
So, just again, let your palate kind of normalize again as you go through the beer.
I also think it might be beneficial to both of us that you guys are having it with the pretzels. I am not. So I get a little different taste profile than you guys do.
You always have a different taste profile, as the listeners know.
That's true. Accurate. Not getting the banana off the taste, but that cereal I'm getting and the flour. It's definitely a thirst quencher, though, for sure. Definitely it can go down pretty easy.
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same terminology. Like this beer goes down really easy. This is, a nice beer for this warm weather, that we're having in the summer. So, yeah, I definitely really like this beer as a thirst quencher, type thing.
And does it go well with the pretzels, Chris, or no?
Yeah, so Tyler said he had residual pretzel. What I did, my strategy, if you will. So I did one sip of beer, one pretzel right after. So kind of, mix it in there. But I do agree, like, especially with the heat of the pretzel, I think if you really want to get the taste of the beer, which we do, and, tell everyone about that, probably hold off on the pretzels as we're really kind of searching for what the exact flavor of the beer is.
So you guys have been doing a lot of talking.
Yep.
I've been doing a fair amount of drinking. I'm pretty close to being done this
Which
already.
means it's definitely a thirst quencher.
It is thirst quenching, very thirst quenching. The lacing, as suspected, plenty of lacing, a little bit sporadic, but there's definitely lacing as I go through it. Now, going back to my strategy, I'm now picking up some of that. The wildflower or that grassy kind of undertone. I'm getting more of like that natural flavor. So I'm getting kind of like those earthy kind of tones in it. But like it's not overbearing.
Yes.
Like it seems like if for a Czech Pilsner, I've had some that I haven't really enjoyed, I'll be honest.
I'd say same, yeah.
This seems very well layered.
Yeah, I'm not a huge...
and-
Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
Well, I was just going to say they mentioned that there is a lot of bitterness to it, and I am getting that bitterness at the end, like a little bit more than a pilsner, like a typical pilsner maybe, but definitely hits like, I think I've said this before. When you think pilsner, you kind of think like cold and crisp. It definitely hits that like crisp aspect. When you drink it, you get that crispness, and that's usually coming from the carbonation.
And usually, like if I have a Czech pilsner, I'm probably having one of that, and then I'm moving on to something else. Move on to an IPA or
Sure.
But this one is definitely one that I could have another one of right away.
Yeah.
Which,
for sure.
it already gets me in good graces if I can have another one of these right away, right?
Well, and with the smaller cans, like you could easily do, 3 or 4 of these without really kind of realizing it.
Now, speaking of the can, before we get on to the flavor profile, because producer Rory...
Yeah.
While you're doing that, I just got some pretzels back, so I'm going to have a couple pretzels.
Okay,
You do that.
fair enough. That's because he wanted me to talk about the can. He was lifting up his hand so he could...
Yeah, thank you, Rory.
Yes.
Thank
so
you.
the actual can and the label of the can itself, which is kind of funny, is about an 80-year-old fish with a cane and a top hat on. So if you think of the GIF of Abraham Simpson walking into Moe's, taking off his hat, walking around,
Well done.
putting his hat back
Nice.
on and walking out, that's the exact logo here.
That's spot on. That was spot on.
And I believe if you look really closely, the fish also has a monocle.
I
Yes,
wondered that too,
that is
but
right.
I couldn't pick up on that.
That is right.
Yeah.
The little touches, you
Yes.
So the description that we gave the history lesson is on the can as well, and it does kind of go through, the swim, drink, fish, stuff that we discussed as well. So, top 5 flavor profiles. Brett, do you want to read them out? You seem anxious.
I'm very anxious to get to this. Absolutely. Number 1, grainy.
I wouldn't put it as my number 1. I do think that there is those earthy undertones, but I don't think grainy is where I would put.
I'd agree with that.
Maybe people have been eating pretzels with it like us.
Maybe
Yes, yes. Number 2, crisp.
it is crisp.
Yeah,
I think
totally.
it's very crisp, light. Yep.
I think that would be number 1 for me in my aspect. Number 3,
Yep.
and I haven't really seen this on tap before, but why not? Straw-like.
I could see where people are going with that, with the grainy kind of portion as
Almost
well.
like the earthy.
And like kind of earthy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
earthy as
exactly.
well,
I was
yeah.
going to say the earthiness kind of. But yeah, it's interesting. I don't think I've seen that before either.
4, refreshing.
Oh, totally.
This hits the spot 100% for sure. And number 5,
Yep.
rustic. Because it's an old school Czech Pilsner, right?
Yeah,
Right,
it's
very,
like-
very rustic kind of beer, I
Yeah.
suppose.
This is
Yeah.
what they were.
A beer with history.
This is what
but,
they were
yeah.
drinking in 1850 in the Czech Republic, because everybody who's on Untapped was alive in 1850 in Czech Republic.
There it is.
Well, Rory's also saying crushable. Maybe.
Yeah?
Yep.
I think so. So yeah.
and we discussed that earlier on,
Yeah.
right? And then we said 3 or 4 of them, and being good graces with Fife because you'd have 2, maybe 3. All right. Well, speaking of Untapped and those individuals from the 1850s that probably can't use it, let's get to some thoughts from some Untapped users.
Yeah, so the first one comes from David M. Handle is Canna Dave on May 29th said, not too shabby. Definitely has that bready quality I would expect from a Czech Pilsner. And David gave it a 3.5 out of 5.
Okay.
Very nice.
Mine is from Big Tall Goof, with also the same handle.
We'll get your rating in a second.
Yeah.
I knew there was going to be a joke of that coming somewhere. Jesus.
Even Rory's
Yeah,
laughing.
right. As he's munching on pretzels. On May 26th, said, definitely nailed the Czech character. Digestive cookie and graham crackers. Anybody getting any of that?
Not so
I
much.
thought that was
No, not so much.
wildflower honey, definitely.
Yeah, I can
A
see
hint of lemon and toffee.
Just if we're breaking this
Yeah,
apart like we have been, the lemon I could kind of see a little
Yes.
bit more, so I'm not getting any of the banana aspect of it, but
Yeah.
I do feel like there's just that little bit of lemon,
Yep.
and maybe that's that lemon honey wildflower kind of
I think
combination
so as well.
you typically see.
And super solid malt forward lager, which I definitely agree upon. It is malt forward. Absolutely.
Definitely.
And he gave it a 4.4 out of 5 because he's got that premium subscriber stuff.
Oh, that big tall goof.
Yeah, right. All right, so I guess I should get the rating started. Again, definitely thirst quenching. Definitely gonna have another one of these. The only thing holding it back for me is it is a little too earthy, I'd say.
Sure.
But I'm gonna give it a 4.
All right. I'm struggling a little bit on it. This is probably one of the best Czech Pilsners I've ever had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go a little bit higher than you, Brett, and I'm going to give it a 4.25.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. This is, this is kind of saying something. Like, I haven't had necessarily many memorable Czech Pilsners, but this is definitely one of the best I've had. I'm going to go with a 4 as well, though.
Okay.
Very nice.
And producer Rory, a little bit lower, 3.5 for Rory.
I wonder if he has just been munching on too many pretzels, that's affected his overall rating. I think that's probably what it is.
It's possible.
That's what I'm thinking. At least.
I think so. I think he's just got
because
that
now
mouthful
he's
of
so
pretzels,
super slow on the calculator because he's trying to devour the bag here.
Well, so he had to dust off his fingers with all the the flavor on the pretzels.
Yeah.
So to get to his calculator.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, now that we finally got it all covered here.
It's coming in.
Oh my goodness. So that gives us an overall team score of 3.9375, which obviously we will move up to a 4.
Yes.
And also that means we should kind of keep going upstream and grab that second beer.
And popcorn.
Yes, and popcorn.
And we are back and well fed. But that's going to change too. So the second beer we're having today is the Pancake Bay Sweet Brunch Stout, which comes out at 5.3% ABV and 39 IBUs.
Nice. So as we kind of alluded to earlier in the episode, this beer was awarded silver in the Sweet Stout category of the World Beer Awards. So the second best stout in the entire world, basically. And it was named after the soft, sandy stretch on Lake Superior's eastern shore.
One point of clarification on that. Just reading on here, it says World Beer Awards, Canada silver. So they probably break it down.
Oh, okay.
By area as well. And I was...
First one do like North America and Europe.
Yeah. I'm wondering what year that was too.
It was 2021, I know that.
It was a 2021?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Sure.
And it's probably why we were so grateful that we waited,
Correct.
to get this in our hands, because if we would have done it 2 years ago, we wouldn't have had it.
Now, before I go into what this beer entails, what popcorn are you guys having?
What's the popcorn entail? Chris, give us a little tour on the popcorn. We have got it open here. We had a little bit of a mishap in between recording breaks where Chris did cut himself on a Henkel knife. Luckily, our homeowner's insurance is up to date. So
perfect. So this is from Niagara Popcorn, and it is cookies and cream flavor. It's very good.
I'm just happy there's no mixture of blood involved with that. So that's good.
No. It is delicious, and I think it's going to pair wonderfully with this beer.
Oh, and
yes. Oh, totally. It's a perfect stout beer.
I'll talk about the beer because at least I'm having that. The Pancake Bay combines 5 kinds of malts with flaked oats to create a full-bodied stout, which then is added with milk sugar to sweeten it. Then,
that sounds good.
As the beer cools, the beer is steeped with local roasted ground coffee and topped off with maple syrup. So you may want to enjoy this beer for breakfast.
Ooh.
Wow. Yeah.
A breakfast beer.
If you're listening to the podcast the morning it comes out, maybe have this beer for breakfast with the podcast.
Yeah, put on a little Gore Bamford.
Yeah, right. Producer Rory knows what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's nodding his head.
Yeah.
All right. So on Untapped for this beer, there are 90 check-ins with a 3.72 overall rating and 53 check-ins from the can with a 3.71 rating. So basically right on with the overall. 3 5 out of 5s. Now, I like the little line graph on Untapped. It looks a lot like Brett's line graph. A regular bell curve with a jump, if you will, at the 5s.
Yes, I think I was a much more generous giver of 5s when I was a rookie user of Untapped. If you actually go back and look at all the fives,
I'm not sure about that.
I mean, when I did just do my recent trip of Nashville, there was a couple fives thrown in there, absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's just me. I would say if you go back early in the Untapped days, a lot more fives. I gave Belgian Moon a 5 for God's sakes.
Yeah, it's funny because I mean, it starts looking like a Olympic aerials or something, right?
Oh yeah.
Come down the mountain, then all of a sudden,
yes,
popping up.
right back up.
Yes.
But without further ado, let's grab our glassware, which Chris will mention in a second, and our cannon. Let's open her up. Very nice, very nice.
Yes, indeed.
Well, we are drinking this out of a stout glass today, so make sure to use your proper glassware. I will say, usually we drink our stouts on the podcast out of our imperial pints, but this is the first stout we've had since my birthday, which I did receive these stout glasses.
Oh,
so
nice.
I'm bringing them out. So
Bring them out, bring them out.
lucky you guys.
Very nice,
maybe
very
not
nice.
me, but yes.
That's true. That's true.
Lots
All right,
of head
so
on this.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, tons of head on.
I got
mine.
about 2.5 fingers of it right now.
we got about 3.5 to 4 over here.
Yeah.
That's the difference between a stout glass and a mug right there.
Yes, that is the difference.
Just the way he poured it too, I think.
Yeah,
But
I think so too.
I mean, we're talking color, we're talking stouts. It's pretty much the same thing for everything, right?
Bingo.
Yep, dark with a tan head. Looks like a stout.
Oh,
Looks like a stout.
Oh,
Does it? Does it smell like a stout, Brett?
Yes, it definitely smells like a stout.
What are you picking up there? Is there anything specific
Getting a lot
that
more of
kinda
the coffee. I'm not getting too much of the maple syrup. I feel as though that's going to be more in the taste, personally. But I definitely get the
fair.
steepness of the coffee, for sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm smelling also. I agree. I was kind of expecting a bit more sweetness from the syrup on the nose, but I expect that we'll get that when we taste it.
Yes.
No, I just took 3 large inhales, and I'm getting a little bit more of that maple syrup with every deeper smell that I've taken with this.
Okay.
So maybe if you just kind of really rip her back, there you go, fill the lungs up,
Nostrils, yeah.
yeah, and see what you get out of that too. And this is difficult because I mean it's also allergy season. It seems like there's been a lot of
it's been bad.
seasonal allergies have been really kicking up earlier on.
Are 2 or 3 of you are there, and one of the rest is not.
Yeah.
All right. But as judging by, it looks like a stout, smells like a stout. Should we taste it to see if it tastes like a stout?
Yeah, I'm ready to get into
I
it.
eat.
All right, let's go.
All right, you guys go ahead. I'm just going to watch you take this. There's a big head on Chris's, as we mentioned too. So again, mixing on that kind of that mouth, right? Whatever you fill it up with, if it's going to be just the beer itself, or you're going to take on some of the head with it, right?
That's like a tale of two worlds for me. Beer. It's almost like it's trying to tell two different stories here, in terms of the front end and the back end. I'm getting
What are the stories?
The front end is all that coffee. And the back end for me is that maple sweetness.
Yeah, I agree. You definitely get kind of a distinct flavor difference between the beginning of your sips and the end of your sips. I would say that the coffee is more prominent at the beginning than the maple syrup is at the end, right?
Correct, yeah.
The coffee, and that makes sense. Coffee is a stronger flavor, I think. So that's kind of what I'm getting from it.
Tyler?
Yeah, I see where you're coming with that. And I actually tend to agree with you, Brett.
Wow.
Yeah, having this beer that I'm going to kind of go into a little bit of a story, but I'll keep it relatively short. Is I used to work in a local diner in Stratford when I was growing up. This beer reminds me of that diner, and I think it's just like when you talk about like the aroma of the diner itself, very like you'd have where I worked. It was Madeline's Diner in Stratford, and you'd have coffee on all throughout the morning service, as you kind of get moving through the church crowd on a Sunday, and a lot of like French toast and pancakes and maple syrup flying around. And this really just kind of brings me back to that nostalgic kind of moment, and I'm enjoying it.
So what we're saying is next Sunday, 9 a.m., Tyler's going to have this beer at Madeline's.
Yeah, if they served it, I would
Yeah,
for sure. But honestly, it's like one of those things that like it's aromatic. It's got a good presence about itself. I feel like it is fairly balanced. It's more of like a 60-40 kind of coffee to maple syrup ratio, I guess is probably the best way of putting that.
Yeah.
But that's where I'm at right now. And it drinks light. Like it's not a like mouthfeel. It's not a thick stout. It's not like a crude oil, right? It's fairly light on the palate.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
it is sweet, though.
Thin, right? Yeah, no, you're right. It definitely is sweet. And it's interesting because they do say they add milk sugar to sweeten it. And you don't really get that.
No.
Or else I'm not really getting like that creaminess from, lactose that,
I do agree with that.
you would usually get, right?
Because it's one of those things that you're almost thinking like of more of a milk stout when going through the description and everything, but that lactose is seemingly missing almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to implore you guys to take a sip and hold it in your mouth a little bit and just let it sit on your tongue because I just did this and I kind of got more of that milk-ish flavor out of it.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's just the way that I let it sit. And again, it depends how you drink your beers.
And how is the mixing with the popcorn while I go do that?
Well, yeah, I haven't really had many kernels of the popcorn since cracking this one, but they go hand in hand together.
Well,
and
I'll get into that.
Yeah, there you go. You get a little bit of the additional sugars from that, and it pairs nicely. But I just holding that mouth full of beer.
Yep.
I think you kind of get a little bit of a different kind of edge to it.
I see what you meant there for sure. You do get it's still not as prevalent as what I would have hoped for it to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely there if you do simmer on a little bit more. I agree.
Yeah.
Very nice. Let's move on to the top 5 flavor profiles. Chris, do you want to give us?
Yeah, totally. So the first one is coffee, which I definitely agree with. That's coming through the most. Number 2 is sweet.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. Number 3 is one we haven't mentioned, is chocolate. And I'm not really getting chocolate out of this one personally.
Me neither.
Yeah, I think that might be more of that vanilla-ish, so it's not really like a chocolate coming across for me, but again, not a 3 for sure.
Well, number 4 you just mentioned is vanilla. Again, I'm not really getting that personally.
Yeah, I think that's, again, just kind of holding it in my mouth a little bit longer. I'm getting more of that kind of lactose milk kind of feel, but I wouldn't probably put that at a 3 or 4. It'd be more of my 5 or even 6.
Yep.
Because remember, we're not tied to just 5.
Right.
It's true.
And the final one that is listed is bitter. So I kind of get some bitterness from it. Nothing overpowering, but I think that's also coming from the coffee, right?
Yes.
Like
I think bitter would be like my 12th rating.
There you
Flavor profile. Like, I just don't think it makes the top 5 for me. Even top 10.
Rory suggesting. I don't know if this is actually a profile, but syrup.
Yeah, I don't think it is, but
no. He's crazy.
Rory typed it. If it's good enough for Rory, it's good enough for Rory.
I mean, he's the boss, right? So
apparently, I don't know why, but he is.
Wow.
Speaking of other people's thoughts who think they could be bosses, Untapped people.
All right. Well, I got a mouthful of popcorn, so let's have fun with this one.
Yeah. Tyler, you want to go ahead with the first one?
I will.
In terms of the actual review of the said beer.
Sure.
To
so
give
we
you
got
time to.
No, you're good.
Down.
I'm gonna do it mouthful. You guys can enjoy this one.
All right.
The rating is, or the review is from Christopher R. The handle is Clarendon.
Yeah.
Clarnyn. On June 4th, said the following: really well balanced for a stout, not too thick or thin, not too heavily flavored in any particular direction. 3.25 out of 5. So, I mean, maybe the score doesn't really, or the bottle cap rating doesn't really reflect almost what was written, because I would feel like that'd be a little bit higher up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but kind of getting to what you were saying about not really a thick stout, and again, I don't think it's thin either. It has enough body, right?
But I also get like the not too heavily flavored in any particular direction. Like it's not coffee for, like, you know what I mean? Like
It's balanced.
It's balanced.
It's at 60-40 almost, which I think is a pretty balanced beer, in my opinion.
Yep, I agree as well. Chris?
Definitely.
Oh, good.
So
this is going to be a good one for you, Chris.
Yeah. The second one comes from James A. Handle is Peckerwood. So just let that marinate. On June 2nd stated...
I don't want to.
No, you don't.
James stated, "This ain't half bad. A tad sweet, not very roasty though, but very balanced. Better than a sour." Interesting.
That's a shot. Unnecessarily.
Guess he doesn't like his sour. Shouldn't have the Lee River then.
Yeah, stay away from that.
James gave it a 3.75 out of 5. So in terms of our ratings, I'll get us started. So out of 5 bottle caps, I'm going to give this, I'm going to agree with James on one thing, and that's his rating. I'm going to give it a 3.75 out of 5.
I'm also going to agree with both Peckerwood and Chris and give it a 3.75.
Wow, boys, making this easy.
Tyler?
Rory's going to have a time and a half with it. I'm going to give it a 3.75 as well. And producer Rory is going to give it a 4.5.
Look at him coming in there. Wow.
That's quite impressive.
Yes.
He's loving the coffee, and he likes how it pairs with the popcorn. He's a big fan of that.
Yeah. I mean, and it was kind of nice the order that we did in. I thank you, actually, Chris, for suggesting doing the pretzels and then doing the popcorn. And I think the pairing was great. Brett, you would have enjoyed it.
I probably would have, yes.
And with that being said, I think that it kind of mellowed itself out. It was great.
Yeah, well, thank you for. I appreciate being appreciated.
Nice.
So that's going to give us an overall team score for Untapped of 3.9375, which again we're going to round up to 4.
I was going to say, wasn't that almost spot on?
I'm pretty sure it was. Actually,
it was pretty sure. Pretty close, yeah.
Okay, so that concludes the review of Something in the Water and the beers that they provided for today's episode. Both of them very, very good.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So coming up, facts that correlate beer and water.
All right. So when completing some research for this episode, this quote stuck in the back of my mind, and it made me kind of think about sharing some fun beer and water facts. Okay. So water is to beer as Kris Jenner is to the Kardashians. You know she's there in the background, behind the scenes, but under no circumstances can she be ignored.
Wow. Profound.
That's stuck in your head, eh?
Yeah. Makes sense, right?
I mean, popcorn.
I mean, you do love your reality TV, so that makes sense.
I do, yes. I'm missing like 90 Day Fiancé for this.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
I'm kidding.
It's either that or a baseball game, so.
Yeah, right. Anyway,
Get on the show. Let's go.
You're right. So we're going to do some fun facts that correlate both beer and water. So fact number 1, obviously, this might be pretty easy, but water makes up 90% of beer. So utilizing the natural water contains a range of minerals and compounds that can create different pH levels. With chemicals like magnesium, sodium, chloride, other material.
Yeah.
It can change the taste, color, which will allow the brewer to take the beer from a good beer to a great beer.
Nice.
Now, fact number 2.
Just before you get there, that almost sounds like lesson 1.
You right?
Oh,
It almost does.
Brewed home, you'll get there.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's key information.
Yeah.
Almost like we're giving some lessons away.
Just saying.
Fact number 2. Beer quality can be based on the location of the brewery. So breweries usually procure their water supply from the municipal corporation water distribution system, which when they treat it using different methods, interestingly, the quality of the beer you drink is directly proportional to the quality of water used in brewing that beer.
Makes sense.
So, for example, I was really hoping nobody had a beer from like Newstead back in 2000 when Walkerton was going through the whole water situation, right?
Yep. So with that being said, I think this is a very valuable kind of point, right? Because working in municipal government, you do have some municipalities that use fluoride and some that don't use fluoride, and that could throw it all off. And I think this is a good point to make is depending on where you're located, how you get your water, what your water source looks like, what the treatment plant does to said water can really affect the quality of the beer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Chris?
Well, I've got a couple facts for you as well.
No way.
Yeah.
Almost like we were all supposed to come with a couple of facts.
I know. It's crazy, right? So did you know that 1 liter of beer takes about 240 liters of water to produce? So that's a lot. That's not a great ratio. You may be thinking, how is that possible? So basically that includes all the water that's needed for beer production, but also the water that's needed to irrigate and grow the grains and the hops that are used in the beer. Now, obviously, some of that water comes from natural rainwater, but still, that's a lot of water.
Absolutely.
Just think if you got like a pitcher of beer, that's like 480 liters.
Okay. Oh my God, Brett did math.
In record time.
Yeah. So Plzeň, Czech Republic. So we mentioned them already in the Pilsner section. The birthplace of the Pilsner is known for its mineral-free water, which allowed brewers to make the clear golden lager that is the Pilsner. So without that mineral-free water, they may not have been able to make a crystal clear Pilsner.
They might have been dumping that on the streets again, too.
Yeah, true.
No, right?
Brett, go ahead.
Am I supposed to do Producer Rory?
You got Rory, yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll do his second one. You can do his
No. This is
No.
Brett's time. Shine,
All
baby,
right.
shine.
Apparently. So, Rory's chiming in with this. So, knowing your starting pH of your water is important if you practice all grain brewing. So, your mash pH should be between 5.2 and 5.6. Yes, that's just a little acidic.
Yeah.
So, a mash pH around 5.2 would help convert starches to sugars, so improving mash efficiency.
Helpful, yeah.
Improves yeast health.
We like that.
Yeah.
Yes. Fighting the bacteria growth during fermentation. Mm-hmm. Better hop extraction.
Okay.
Better flocculation of proteins during the cold break and after fermentation is complete.
Okay.
Reducing the chill haze in the finished beer.
You're doing really well.
And if the mash pH is too high, you can extract tannins and bad flavors from your mash. Too low, and you have a tart beer.
Interesting.
Like what kind of tart? I'm just kidding. Like a raisin tart? What are we going
Butter tart from Madeline's.
Okay.
All this conversation of pH makes me think of taking care of my pool.
Oh my! Wow.
How's that here?
Subtle flex.
I got a pool too. Don't worry.
Yeah, I got a bathtub. Hit us with Producer Rory's number 2 there, Brett.
So, number 2, sulfate and chloride are the two biggest measurements when building your water profile.
Yeah.
Chris, good to know here.
Yes.
So you might have heard the phrase chloride to sulfate ratio. This is the amount of chloride versus sulfate in your water. So, I don't know why Rory went into all this, detail. But an oversimplification of this is the more chloride, the more malt flavors shine. It enhances the fullness and malt sweetness, so a thicker mouthfeel. The more sulfate, the more hop bitterness shines. So that produces a drier and crispier beer, so a thinner mouthfeel.
So I think maybe getting out of that is like if you were brewing a stout, you might want more of the chloride, but if you're brewing like an IPA, you might want more sulfite in it.
That's good.
So we didn't know what to say.
That's my big takeaway from Rory.
Yes.
Thanks,
job.
Rory. Here's
job,
more
Rory.
popcorn you can sit back and enjoy.
Yes. Tyler?
All
what's going
right,
on?
so here we go, a little bit of ratios again. If you drink 200 milliliters of beer, you would think that maybe you would urinate 200 milliliters of water.
Or pee, yeah.
Yeah, sure. If you want to really
Urine.
simplify it, yeah. You actually pee 320 milliliters of water, and that's why it's considered a diuretic. So, which is about 120 milliliters if you want to do the math for dehydration. So, that's why we always say, mix in a glass of water every now and then. So, if you're sitting on a patio, you're also sweating. So, make sure you maybe have 2 glasses for every pint. I see your head nodding up and down, Brett. What do you want to say?
I'm just saying that's why breaking the seal sucks.
Yeah, you're really losing a little bit of fluids.
Yeah.
Right?
I've got my water bottle with me right now, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Filled it up
You always do.
from his
You
pool,
always-
probably.
You always have that water bottle. You always have that water bottle just there to
Yes,
suck on.
you guys know it.
Yeah. What's
Stay
the pH of
hydrated.
it? Yeah, there you go. All right, so on my number 2 one here, I went a little bit creative with this one because I knew I was doing a history lesson earlier on, so I wanted to carry that theme through to the thematic conversation. So we often think of tidal waves being that of water, but did you know that in 1814 there was a terrible disaster called the London Beer Flood when barrels of porter flooded the neighborhood of St. Giles Rookery? The bizarre industrial accident happened when a 22-foot tall wooden vat of fermenting porter burst.
Oh.
And the pressure destroyed another vessel, which released around 128,000 to 323,000 imperial gallons of beer.
Wow.
Unfortunately, this disaster ended up killing 8 people.
Now, I don't want to make light of that. 8 people
you know what?
died.
Before you continue, I thought about it, and there is like a rule in comedy that if the people have been dead for many years, it's okay. So in 1814 they died. You're clear to go.
Okay.
Clear to dig. Clear to dig.
I guess, did they die from alcohol poisoning of drinking all the porter off the street?
You know what? The records weren't that great. They were a little watered down. But you had either alcohol poisoning, you could have had the pressure alone, you could have had drownings. And I kind of flipped back to Beer Fest, right? Falling into the vat of beer there. But I thought it was interesting. I thought it was somewhat water related.
It definitely does give another impression to drowning in beer.
Right?
That is for sure. I don't know if that's from consumption of beer in the mouth or, again, from just the utterness of not being able to swim in a porter.
Yeah.
It's a little darker versus the clear water.
I'm surprised that only 8 people died.
Right?
Yeah.
And hopefully, Chris, your pool is clear and not like looking like a porter right now.
Yeah, I hope not.
There you go. All right. Brett, you content with that?
Yeah, I'm content with all the facts you guys provided. That was lovely.
Excellent. So we'll be right back
Yes.
as we wrap it up. All right, and that's going to be it for today's episode.
Thank you again for listening. Keep on listening every other Thursday as Craft Beer Connoisseurs releases a new episode, and on our off Thursdays for a producer special.
And make sure to tell your friends, family, and your favorite body of water.
Ooh, so from all of us and Producer Rory, I'm Tyler.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Chris, and together we're the Craft Beer Connoisseurs.